I think that something that people, I think, are starting to talk about now, but I feel like women don't understand how difficult it is after 40 to have a kid. And I feel like we all are just like, oh, look at Halle Berry. And no one really talks about what that looks like. Let's be totally frank. They didn't just get pregnant. It's not possible. If I was to go back and do it all over again, I would not have waited so long. But I did. And I wasn't ready to have a second for a very long time.
You're listening to the MILF Podcast. This is the show where we talk about motherhood and sexuality with amazing women with fascinating stories to share on the joys of being a MILF. Now here's your host, the MILFiest MILF I know, Jennifer Tracy.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. This is MILF Podcast, the show where we talk about motherhood, entrepreneurship, sexuality, and everything in between. I'm Jennifer Tracy, your host. It is the last day of February 2019. I cannot believe it. I can't believe how fast the first 2 months of this year went. It's so true. The older I get, the faster time goes. Do you remember being a kid? And I have a 9.5-year-old. So like for him, spring break seems so far away. And I'm like, dude, it's going to be here in like 5 seconds. He can't grasp it because time to him is so much longer because he's only been around for 9.5 years. And now that I'm older, it goes so quickly. Sometimes it still goes slowly, but most of the time flies. So here we are. Today is the last day for you guys to get in your iTunes reviews for me to donate $25 per iTunes review to Lumos. They can be found at wearelumos.org if you want to find out more about what they do, or if you want to donate to them directly, please do that. It's a beautiful organization that they're geared towards ending children's institutions and orphanages, the need for them at all. So they want to give resources and programs to families so that they can stay together. J.K. Rowling is the founder. It's pretty badass. So that's that. I also wanted to remind you guys that our rating is explicit only because on iTunes there's only 2 ratings. There's either explicit or not explicit. And my team and I decided to change it to explicit last month, earlier this year, that's flying by, because occasionally we do say the F word or shit or, talk about sex. And so we wanted you guys to just be aware of that in case you're listening to us on your way to pick up the kids from school or, Yeah. So that's why we have the explicit rating is it's just basically to know that occasionally that happens. Some episodes more than others. Some episodes there won't be a single curse word or any dirty talk, but sometimes there's a lot of it. So it varies from guest to guest. Anyway, I also just want to take a moment to thank all of my beautiful listeners for participating with me in this 28 days of self-love challenge that I've been running on my Instagram. It's been so fun and it's been so hard. Like I started doing this and I was like, oh, that's easy. Just post one thing a day. Like I was kind of arrogant about it, to be honest. Not arrogant, but just flippant, I guess. I just thought, oh, no big deal. And it's hard. Like many days I got to the end of the day and I said, oh shit, I have not posted anything today. I have to keep this commitment and be an example. And, so I'd be scrambling to do something, which is good because it's part of the exercise. It's like, well, you have to do it every day for 28 days, but it was hard. And it also made me realize how, I really talk a lot about self-care and making time for myself, but it's really hard for me to do it on a daily basis. I can do it when my kid is with his dad. I can do it when my kid's at school or, but for the most part, balancing all the things I'm balancing, like we all are, it's really hard to make a distinct effort to create something for myself, even if it only takes 5 minutes. It's really been an interesting exercise for me. So I want to thank you guys who've joined me or who've at least witnessed me fumble through it. Yeah, more stuff like that. I don't know what the next experiment's going to be, but something different. Anyway, so I want to introduce today's guest. Today's guest is a mom that I met when our kids started kindergarten together. And she's an actress. She was on the original 90210. And she is lovely and brilliant. And she has a lot of depth and insight. And I just was so honored to have her on the show and to get to go to her office and interview her. So without further ado, here is my interview with Kathleen Robertson. I hope you guys enjoy it. Hi, Kathleen.
Hi. This is very weird. I feel weird talking to you in this.
I know, in the headphones and I know. With my I've got these giant mic stands now.
Fancy.
It's very official.
It's very fancy.
Yeah. So we're here in your writer's studio, which is very exciting.
I don't know. Does it feel exciting? It feels
writerly. There's writing all on the walls and everything. I love this.
Yes.
So what's HTP list stand for?
Oh, HTP is a book that I recently optioned called How to Party with an Infant. Do you know that book?
No, but I need it.
It's a pretty good book. Yeah. It's this book.
I mean, I don't need, I'm not having any more babies, but I just meant that sounds interesting just to read. Yeah.
Yeah. It's this author, Cowie Hart Hemmings, who did The Possibilities and The Descendants.
Oh.
The George Clooney movie. Yeah. So it's her book.
And are you turning it into
I am going to attempt to turn it into a TV show.
That sounds awesome.
And these are all possible producer partners.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So we will circle back to your writing career. But I want to start from the beginning. So you are from Canada.
I am. I'm from Hamilton, Ontario.
Born and raised.
Yeah.
And then and you grew up with siblings?
Yeah, I have 2 older sisters.
And what did your parents do?
My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad was an interior designer.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, that makes sense. That's where you get your style from.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about style, but yeah, my dad it was actually kind of, it was interesting because he was an interior designer, but we lived in a steel city. So there wasn't a huge demand for interior designers in a pretty blue collar place. It's like an hour outside of Toronto, and it's interesting now looking back on it that's what he did in such an environment that would not be really super open and receptive to that.
So how did he work? Did he have to go out of town for work a lot, or
he worked for a store for a long time, and then he had his own store.
Okay,
where he would the weekends were spent, going to antique markets and looking for.
Did you go with him?
Always, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
and they're still there in Canada.
Yeah, my whole family's still there.
Okay,
I'm the only one that got out.
Yeah,
that left. Yeah.
So you born and raised, went through school there, and then what happened?
Well, I always sort of knew. I started acting really young.
You were a child actor?
Scary young. I just was talking to somebody about it the other day, and my 10-year-old son William. So I was 10 when I started.
Wow.
So when I look at him, I can't believe that I was that age when I started being a working professional being.
That feeling of I can't believe it. Do you feel like that is because you just think, my God, of the pressure that you were under or the work environment that you're under, even as a child, or?
Yeah, I would never let him do that.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, it's just a lot, you know? I mean, it's you have your son.
Yes.
Same age. So it's add on to everything that you're dealing with now with Blooms, and then add on to it. Oh yeah. And you're going to be going out on auditions and being told no, and being told you're not enough of this and you're not enough of this. And you're no, I mean, it's just, I can't even wrap my head around that
on top of just
for a 10-year-old
basic development. So when you were that age and experiencing that, how did your mom help you, guide you through that?
I mean, my parents, nobody in my family was in the entertainment industry. So I don't think anybody really realized it at the time that it was sort of, what it was.
Right.
And my parents always would say to me, you don't have to do this if this isn't like, you don't like, there wasn't really a pressure.
Right.
It wasn't like I grew up with stage parents and they were like, we want you to do this. They were always sort of like, if this is, if this should be fun. And if it's not fun, there's no reason to do it. It's complicated.
You had the bug.
It's complicated. Yeah.
So what kind of work was it at that age?
Like the first thing I did when I was 10 was I did a movie for the National Film Board of Canada, which was called Left Out. And it was a movie about a girl whose parents were both, her dad lost his job. And it was basically an educational movie about growing up in poverty.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I did a lot of stuff for like the national, like Norman Jewison has a film institute, and I did a lot of sort of movies for them. And I never was a commercial. I never really did commercials. I was always more sort of weird little movies, and and then I did a series all through high school called Maniac Mansion,
Ooh,
which was produced
that sounds fun.
It was based on a video game. It was produced by George Lucas, and it was like a family show. It was all the SCTV people were in it. Like it was Martin Short and Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy was a producer, and Joe Flaherty, and they were all kind of involved in writing in it. And I played the daughter. I was like the 16-year-old daughter.
That's fun.
Yeah. So I did that all through high school. So I was kind of tutored.
So you were not in a regular school.
I was, but I never really went.
Got it.
Because I was always working. So they would have teachers come to set to help me.
How was that like socially for you? Was it challenging, or did you just didn't know any different? So
yeah, and I was sort of I didn't know any different, and I think it was unlike I feel like if you were doing that in Los Angeles, it would be a very different experience. But nobody knew what I was really like. It was sort of a weird thing where nobody really got it, and I would kind of be gone for 2 weeks, and then I'd be back in school, and it would be like, what were you doing? And I would never tell anybody. I would always sort of keep it on the down low because I never wanted people to, think of me differently or view me as being, it was weird. I mean, I definitely had a lot of.
You felt like you had a secret.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Interesting.
Instead of just being like, yeah.
Right. Because it was so different there in that time and space. It wasn't like you said, like in LA.
Yeah, in LA, you would just be like,
an actor.
Shooting a Disney show.
Sure.
Or,
Sure. So then you moved to LA, or you moved to New York? Or?
Yes. Okay. So I moved to LA right after that show ended.
Wow.
And I was, I guess I was like 18, 19.
Wow.
I know. Didn't know anybody, didn't have a green card. Came here totally illegally, like was living in an apartment, going out on auditions. And then, if I got something, then they would say, okay, you don't have work papers, so you can't do this job. And I'd say, shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to keep waiting until I got a job that was big enough that they would allow me to get a green card. That was 90210. So once I got that, then they went, oh, well, this is a real show and a real job and a series regular thing. So we're going to get you a green card. So then I got to stay.
Wow.
I know.
And how long were you on the show?
I did 99 episodes.
Wow.
Which I think is so funny. Not 100.
99.
I got out just before 100. I know. It's so funny. Yeah, 99.
That's so great.
Yeah.
And what was that experience like? I mean, that was pretty much right after you moved here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was about 6 months or 7 months after.
So you were very young.
I was very young. Yeah, I was very young. And the show was massive when I came onto it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like midstream. It wasn't the beginning. It was like at the sort of height of it. I mean, they were on the cover of Rolling Stone when I was like starting. So crazy, I mean, it was literally like overnight. I went from being a girl
to
from
being a TV
Hamilton
star, right,
who was driving a beat up Geo Prism to like having a bodyguard.
Yes. Wow. You had a bodyguard.
Yeah, we all did.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Because why? Teenage girls would like attack you guys?
No,
or just anybody?
I mean, crazy
fans.
Yeah. There was a lot of weird, all of a sudden it was like guys in prison contacting you and sending you things.
You're kidding.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a big show.
I'm so naive. I mean, and even I will say this is not a comparison at all. I've been wanting to share about this because it's happened a couple times. And I'm sure this happens to everybody, just, celebrity, not celebrity, but I have an Instagram account for the show, and occasionally I'll get a DM request, right? And I look, and sometimes it's really interesting. I've made some friends on there, women that have approached me. In fact, next week's guest, not next week's guest, yes. Next week being the week after this, not after your recording will air. But anyway, Derek, you'll edit that out because it doesn't make sense. Contacted me through there. And in any case, just yesterday I was, oh my gosh, I just see your bio freeze.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that's the best stuff.
It's the best. Yeah.
Your biofreeze, your essential oils, your Aesop, or however you say that.
My face spray.
Your face spray.
And this is
all
my
your things.
Most favorite thing in the world.
What is this?
For headaches.
Oh, peppermint.
It's the best.
How do you say this? Sage?
Sage. It's a Canadian company, actually.
Do you like how I just tried to implement
Sage?
It's Sage. Is this Sage?
It's honestly the best thing for headaches. It's better than,
I love it.
Peppermint, halo, sage, and it's oil you put on your head.
So my listeners don't think I'm as stupid as I actually am. It's spelled S-A-J-E.
S-A-J-E.
So that's why I said Sage. So what was I saying? Oh, so anyway, just to go back to the, I'll sometimes get DMs from a total stranger, a dude, with some weird username, and it says send nudes. And I always laugh. I'm like, does that work for you, bro? Like, that's so funny. As if I'm just going to be like, oh, let me take my clothes off right now.
1 second. Just give me a minute here.
Funny. So, I mean, I'm nobody, so I can't even imagine at that time. So, wow. How long did you have a bodyguard like that? And how often did you have a bodyguard? Was it?
I mean, it was sort of, it would ebb and flow. Like there would be periods when something would happen and then they would want to have somebody literally. I was living in Brentwood by myself in a condo. And there was a period where they had somebody sitting outside of my door waiting for, I mean, it's crazy when I think about it now. Because I so would never, I just, it's
hard to fathom.
It's trippy. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely I remember going on hiatus to Italy and going to the Sistine Chapel. They had to take me out because it was people were
crowds of people
hysterical about 90210. It was crazy. You
couldn't even enjoy your vacation.
No, it was ridiculous when I think about it now, especially,
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like I said, I mean, I was just a kid from Hamilton.
Yeah, right.
Going, oh,
right.
This is people really like this show.
Wow.
I mean, even now, still people are people are fascinated.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know there was a new reboot of it. I didn't follow.
I didn't either. Yeah. But that was my first American job.
Yeah.
So it was pretty, it was a really heightened period for sure.
Yeah. And while you're finding your footing as in a new country and at that age and that sort of coming of age. So at what point, when did you meet your husband? Was it during that time?
No.
Oh, no.
So I met Chris. We've been together 17 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Just crazy. Yeah. Our 15-year wedding anniversary is this year.
Oh.
So I met him actually when I was filming a movie and one of his best friends was the producer. And so, we met, through him on a night where neither one of us wanted to go to this. There was a party and I didn't want to, I was I'm tired. I don't want to go. I've been working all day. And something at the last minute was just go. And he was the same. He wasn't going to go. I'm just going to go. And if we hadn't gone to that party, we would have never met. So it's crazy, when you think about life that way.
And at that time, you were still just fully pursuing acting?
Yeah, for 100%.
Yeah. And
I was,
go ahead.
When I met him, I was doing Scary Movie 2.
Oh, right.
That was how I met him.
I see. Okay,
the producer of that movie was one of his best friends.
Got it. Okay.
So,
And had you been writing? Had you always written? Did you write as a child? Was it in you or was it something that came later?
I always was a writer. I started very young, always journaling and always doing short stories and never really thought about it more than that. Just knew that it was something I loved to do and it was always my therapy. Anything would happen. I was stressed. I was concerned. I was anxiety. I was this. I would just That was always my therapy. And then after William was born, I started, I would always write stuff and just throw it in a drawer. Like I would be off on location and I'd be like, I'm going to write a movie about such and such. And I would write it and just kind of be like, yeah, whatever, and throw it in a drawer and never let anyone read it. And then after William was born, I started, really feeling also like, I don't want to be going away on location. I don't want to be in Bulgaria doing a movie. I don't want to be in New Mexico. I want to stay home. And I started just sort of trying to sort of figure out how I could do this in a real way. And Chris, my husband, who's a producer, was like, well, let me read something. I was like, well, I don't really know. And, I was really vulnerable about it and really insecure about whether or not. And I had this weird sort of thing of like, you're one thing, like you're an actor or you're like, I always thought that people who tried to do multiple, I was always a bit judgy about it.
Yeah.
And a bit like, okay, you're this, you're this, you're this, you're this. I mean, just focus on what you love and do that. So I always thought, I don't want to be that person. I'm just going to be an actor, And then I let Chris read a script and he texted me he was like, you're a writer. It's real. You're not an actor that wants to be a writer. I think you're a writer.
Wow.
You're a real writer. And I really respect his opinion and I expect, I knew that he wouldn't say that if he didn't believe it. So I said, okay. And I let my reps read it and they were like, oh yeah, this is good. And then after that, we just kind of, the rest is.
Because you were doing a TV show. Well, when I met you, you were doing a TV show and you had already been writing, but I remember you were trying to do TV to stay in town.
Yeah.
That was sort of the deal?
I think when I met you, I was either doing Boss, but that's shot in Chicago.
What was the other one?
I was doing Murder in the First.
That's it.
Which was the TNT show shot in LA, which was an amazing job. Because I mean, who gets to film in LA anymore?
Right. Everything's in Atlanta
or
Canada.
Yeah.
So, but at that time, you'd already been writing. So you'd already been planting these seeds since William was a baby.
Yeah. And during Boss, which was the show that I shot in Chicago, that was when it started to really kind of become real, where it was like, I sold something and then it was like, oh, now I'm doing, rewrites and I'm working on this and I'm working on this. And and all through, Murder in the First, I was writing.
That's incredible.
So I was like filming and then in my trailer.
And how did that feel being paid for a writer versus being paid as an actor? And you'd had all these years of being paid as an actor. So you had a whole big career behind you already of acting.
Yeah. It was
since you were 10.
Amazing. Like it felt amazing.
What was different about it?
It just felt like it was more me.
Yeah.
I mean, being an actor, as you know, is it's fabulous and it can be incredible, but it's rarely that.
Yeah.
The majority of what it is to be an actor is really difficult.
Especially as a woman.
Beyond.
Let's
beyond.
go there. Let's go there for a minute.
Beyond. I mean, like, and everyone's like, oh, everything's turning and it's so great now. And it's like, no, let's wait, no, we're not there yet.
So what
can't quite be.
And you and I have talked about this over the years. And I remember you saying, it was so funny because, you guys know this and you'll see the pictures on the memes. Kathleen is exceptionally beautiful.
Oh.
You're funny. You're funny stuff. You are.
Oh my
you
God,
are.
you should see me right now, people.
You
are.
In
My sweats.
You are. But I remember you saying something after Murder in the First was done and you were trying to get another TV show in LA and you said, oh, for an old gal like me. And I just looked at you like, what? And then I remembered, oh, right. That's how it is. And I was like, old gal. But there is this, even for me in my little piddly commercial career, former commercial actress career, it fell off after I turned 35.
For most women, it's over at that point.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Even now.
Yeah.
It is. Almost everybody that I look at that I knew coming up and working with, it's like everybody's either going back to school.
Even if you're in a certain category of actress that's like A-list, it's hard for them too.
Well, the thing that's so interesting is even those women, it's like, it's not even enough anymore to just be an actor. It's like they all literally have production companies, they're producers, they're optioning 10 books a year.
They have an app.
The pressure and the sort of like what it is now, it's like it's not even enough anymore to just be oh, you're on a TV show. It's like, well, what's your brand?
Right.
And it's like, what? I mean, it's insanity.
While you're raising your kids,
while you're trying to be a mother, while you're trying to be, like remembering to eat, wash your hair. And I mean, it's like, it's too much.
It's crazy.
It's too much. Yeah.
That's interesting. So it is shifting. Like when people say that, like it's shifting. It is shifting. But what I'm hearing you say is there's just more pressure from different directions.
I think that I think that not sustainable. And I feel like I feel like something's got to give at some point in terms of, I've never, I don't know how you feel about this, but I am so hard on myself.
Oh gosh.
And I'm so I'm so just kind of like, it's never enough, like I'm either, and if things are going well with work, then it means I'm a bad mom because I'm not with my kids. And I'm with my kids, then I'm like slacking on every other level. It's just, and it's weird because I feel like my husband doesn't feel that.
No, I don't think
Chris
men
is
do.
just kind of like, you know what? I did my best.
Yeah.
I did my best, like you did your best. But he doesn't feel that thing. Like he's like, well, I'm fine. That is fine. Like, what are you worrying about?
Yeah.
Like, I know, but shouldn't we be, this and blah, blah, blah. He's like, they're fine.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I don't know what the antidote for that is, except just time and experience.
Yeah.
And extra self-love and extra sage
on
your head.
Lots of biofreeze.
Yes, lots of biofreeze. But that's interesting. And do you feel not less pressure? Do you feel different pressure now that you're in this writing suite as a writer, as a paid writer? Are you pursuing acting at all right now? Or is that table?
I have a new show coming out.
Well, you do?
I do.
Oh my God. How do you do it all?
I don't.
Wait, is this because you were in Canada this summer?
Yes.
That's what it is. Tell us about the show.
I have a show premiering on Netflix on March 1st.
Oh my gosh.
Called Northern Rescue.
So you got to spend the summer with your family, came with you, which is a blessing. And you guys had the most picturesque, Instagram perfect summer I got to see.
We did have a really good summer. Yeah, we did a really good summer.
Did you think about moving there for 5 seconds?
We totally did.
I heard Chris was talking to Finkel at somebody's party. I forget what it was. And he was like, we thought about it.
It was heaven.
It looked amazing.
Yeah, we filmed up in Northern Ontario in this place called Parry Sound, which is a couple-hour drive from Toronto. And it was amazing. I mean, it was definitely one of those jobs where, I mean, we'll see how it does and if it gets picked up or what happens with it. But it was kind of like a dream scenario because, William wasn't in school. We could all be together. Yeah, it was fabulous.
And same thing, if it gets picked up, I'm assuming it has to be filmed in the summer.
Yeah, like it's definitely just summers.
That's awesome.
So we'll see.
So what is the story and what's your part in it? You're like, this is not a press junket, Jennifer.
No.
I don't want to talk about this.
No. Kind of tonally, it's very different than anything I've ever done before. It's much more hopeful. It's a family drama. So it's sort of tonally more like a This Is Us.
Okay.
And I play a character that's much less, I always tend to get offered very dark, very complicated, very sort of like cracked, warped, fucked up women. And this was not that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this will be fun. I get to play a normal, healthy human. Right. And it was sort of like a bit of a conscious thing for me, like just feeling like after Boss, which was like really amazing, but really, it was very extreme. I had to really go there emotionally and physically, and it was sexual, and it was just a lot. It was like a very intense period. And then Murder in the First, which was also very dark and very, like every day I'd be like, oh my God, I have to go cry all day. I was kind of like, I'm ready to do something a little more cute.
Which is great because it goes with the fact that you were able to at night come home to your family and on the weekends go jump in the lake or so that's great.
So it was fun. It was fun.
Good.
So we'll see what happens with it.
So but other than that, you're not acting right now, like you're not
right now
on a project.
No. Like that was my sort of like check the box acting 3.5 months. Great. Now I can focus on all this stuff. Mm-hmm.
And so what are you working on right now? It looks like there's several. Some of it you probably can't talk about, but
so there's some of it is just kind of in the beginning stages. But right now I'm I'm writing a movie called Little Bee for Julia Roberts and Amazon. It's based on a book.
I remember when this was first coming about, and
That's
you
right.
were nervous about, so that's happening.
Fully happening. I've turned in my first draft, got notes, doing my second draft now. I'm writing a movie for Jason Reitman and Fox Searchlight that's called The Possibilities. And I am writing a movie called Lady Killer, which is based on a comic book series for Dark Horse Comics, and Michelle McLaren is directing it.
Amazing.
Those are features. And then the TV stuff is, so I have a deal at Universal for television, going out with my first sort of big thing with them in the next month, which is, I'm not really supposed to talk about what it is just because they want to keep it.
Sure, of course.
But it's Charlize Theron is producing it with me. So I've been working with her, which is super cool. And then I am also working on a project for television with Joe Berlinger, who is a documentary filmmaker. He has that Ted Bundy thing on Netflix right now. He's really amazing. I'm a huge fan of his. So I'm working with him, which has been really cool. And then the book, which I told you about, How to Party with an Infant, which I'm trying to put together. I have a thing that I recently sold to Jeffrey Katzenberg's new company called Quibi, and it's called Swimming with Sharks. It's a reboot of this movie Swimming with Sharks with two women.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So how many projects is that,
I don't
Kathleen?
know. I don't know.
So where's your brand? You just rattled off like 12 things plus. Oh, that was just my summer. All summer long, I acted in a show, and now I'm doing this, and I have a 2-year-old and a 10-year-old. Blah, 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 blah.
But see what I mean?
Yes.
That's my point.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Plus you're married.
Plus I have a husband that needs to be
Tended to.
Emotionally, physically, all that stuff.
And a home and friends and
yes.
It's so much.
Yeah.
One thing we haven't talked about that I got a ding on it, but this is also something that we can take out if you want to, but I wanted to ask you about your pregnancies. And I didn't know if you wanted to talk about those. So your first pregnancy.
Yes.
How did that go?
It was a surprise.
It was?
Yep. Total. Literally, went to the store, thought this is weird. I'm buying a pregnancy test. Did it, went, what?
Oh my gosh.
Wasn't trying. So it was the easiest thing ever.
Right.
So of course I thought number 2 would be just as easy. Never even thought about it. Too long. I think that something that people I think are starting to talk about now, but I feel like women don't understand how difficult it is after 40 to have a kid. And I feel like we all are just like, oh, look at Halle Berry and look at Janet Jackson. And no one really talks about what that is, what that looks like. Let's be totally frank. They didn't just get pregnant. It's not possible.
Right.
Yeah, if I was to go back and do it all over again, I would not have waited so long. But I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't ready to have a second for a very long time. And then once William was around 6, I kind of thought, oh, I'm going to have a second. And got pregnant and had a miscarriage very far along. I was like 17 weeks. Don't to this day know why. Don't to this day know what happened. They never really could figure out why and what. And then that sort of became a 2-year process. So from the time of that to Bennett, it was 2 years of just everything and anything you could it was like acupuncture and, it was just everything. Yeah. I was just, and the biggest shock to me through all of it was, how many women were just like, oh yeah, I've had one. Oh, I've had 2. Oh, I've had 6. Oh yeah, everybody came out of the woodwork. Everybody.
Yeah.
And I went, what? No one talks about this. Yeah. It was startling to me.
Yeah.
Started working with a therapist named Jessica Zucker, who is fabulous. And she's kind of made it her life's mission to talk about this.
Yes.
She created this hashtag.
I had a miscarriage.
Yeah. And and I've debated, like, should I write a book about it? Should I do, and I've never really talked about it before now. I've talked about it a lot with people that I know. And I'm always the first person to be like, I love talking to other women about it because I feel like it's just something that when you have a baby, everybody celebrates. And when you have a baby that doesn't make it, no one wants to talk about it because nobody knows how to talk about it.
Right.
So it would be so great if we could all get to a place where like there's no stigma and that we can all talk about it. Because I know for me, when I was going through it, because of just the way my brain works, I immediately was like on Amazon buying every book about it. I was wanting to know every woman's story about it because it made me feel less alone.
Yes.
It was just that thing of like, oh my God, reading this story of this woman makes me feel like I can breathe, like I'm okay.
Yes.
Because I'm not the only, and it would be just so great, I think, if we all got to a place where we could just all talk about it.
Yeah.
And not have it be this thing where that was, I think, the hardest part of it. I shouldn't say that was the hardest part. The hardest part was it happening to me. But I think the second hardest part was that just like nobody knew how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Like everybody was like, oh my gosh, you don't even look pregnant. And I would be like, yeah, no, I'm not anymore. And it would be silence. And then that person would never want to talk to you again and look at you in the, you'd walk down the hallways and everybody would, because, and it's not, it's just that people just don't know how to, what to do about it.
Yeah. So but then you feel even more isolated and it's already it's already isolating.
Yeah.
And then you're grieving and dealing with your own loss. And
and it never goes away.
It never goes away. Yeah.
It
is a death.
Yeah. Like it'll never, it'll always be a period of my life that I just still can't even really comprehend.
Yeah.
It's just so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for talking about it today.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you about that. Just like, I think the more we talk about all these things, it helps to lessen the stigma, the social anxiety about it. And, mental health is something I talk about a lot on the show with my friend having died, my own struggles with depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, again, it's just people don't know what to say and it's not from lack of empathy or compassion. It's just not knowledge, I guess, and lack of experience, of course, because once you've been through it,
right?
Like you said, you're always like, oh, if someone brings it up, you want to share that you've been through it too, to let them know that you have a shared experience.
Totally, yeah. And I always think it's funny some of the stuff that Jessica, writes about when she posts things, and it's like, people will say things that are so not
not helpful,
like, oh, it's just, you just need to, like, next time you just need to relax and it'll happen. Or, oh, you're just too stressed right now. You need to, or just say, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And give that person a hug,
Yes.
It's, you don't have to
fix it or have a solution. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But I do really feel like, I wish that, and I have sort of thought about this a little bit, and I don't know what it would look like, but I think it would be great to figure out a way to like get it out there more in terms of like educating women about what, that like, if you're going to wait until you're in your mid 40s, like be prepared. Just be prepared. I mean, it's not to say that it can't happen,
or even, and I don't have any scientific evidence in front of me, but even after 35.
Oh, 100%.
It skyrockets. All those things.
It's next
skyrocket.
level. It's like 35 is the, and again, I know there's people probably listening to this that then gives them anxiety. So I don't mean this in any way to be like, oh, if you're in your, it totally is doable. It's just that just know what it's, how
talk to your doctor.
It's going to be different. It's going to be very different than what it would be. And even women in their 20s struggle with it too. Sure. So it's not to say, but it is definitely, I just think one of those things where when I was forced to sort of really start doing research and it did become difficult for me the second time around to have a baby, I was just sort of like shocked by like all the stuff I researched and learned about, where I was like, wait. So like that woman who's in her late 40s didn't just like, what do you mean? She didn't just
get pregnant.
Oh, it's not even, then you start learning about this and you're like, wow, it's a whole other thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
So then let's see, it was maybe 3 years later I'm guessing,
Yes.
that you got pregnant.
I did.
For third time.
I did. And I'm very reluctant to ever just like talk about this part of it because I know that there are people listening to this right now who are in this position that I was in. And when I used to hear women say this, it made me crazy and it made me really annoyed. I literally had kind of given up and thought, I'm not going to pursue this anymore. It's just, I need to be grateful for William and I need to be grateful for the life that I have. And I can't focus on this anymore because it's clearly not. Maybe it's just not meant to be.
Right.
And then, of course, that was when I got pregnant.
Yeah.
And, that's
your story.
That's
your
story.
story.
Yep.
And so during that pregnancy, were you holding your breath?
Oh, God. It was brutal.
The whole 9 months?
It was brutal. Yeah, I was terrified. Like
until he was in your arms.
100. And even then, I was still like, I would say the first year of his life, it was like the little sock with the beeper on it and the little like band around his I was, the monitor was literally at my ear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
PTSD.
Yeah.
How could it not?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
And now he is 2 years old.
Now he's 2.
And so precious.
The cutest little thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He's a sweet, sweet boy.
What a journey.
Yeah. It was intense. Very intense.
I always think of that quote from Steel Magnolias that Sally Field says, men are supposed to be made out of steel or something. And, talking about how women we are so strong and so resilient. And it is really remarkable when you just shared your entire bits. We're talking for an hour. But your entire life story, your career, everything that you have accomplished, your family that you've created and the strength and the losses and you're still here, and you're still doing it. And man, it's a lot. Like some days I just want to go under the covers and not come out.
Oh, I know.
But
it's a lot.
I do,
Yeah.
But wow.
And some days you just have to do that.
Some days you do have to do that.
That's what I'm trying to get better at.
Yes.
The whole idea of self-care.
Yes.
Is very, very much something that I'm trying to do more of.
Yeah.
Being like, you know what? I have to do anything today if I don't want to.
Yes.
And just
stare at my wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a bath.
Yes.
Play with my baby. And chill. And have to do all these things and accomplish all this stuff.
Yeah. There's so much of what goes back to what you were saying about the be a mom and be a superstar and and how's your brand? And but it's like, oh my God, don't you have a yoga line? Or it's just
right. What are you? Yeah. The lunch, this is like a stupid thing, but like one of my biggest pet peeves is the whole lunch thing. I follow certain people and their lunches are so incredible that they make for their kids. And it just makes me feel my husband's like, unfollow. You don't need to also be making homemade hummus. You don't have to. So I'm like, I know, but it makes me feel like I am the person who's literally like with the frozen Trader Joe's gnocchi.
Oh, yeah.
And hiding the bag because I don't want people to be like, oh, she's just making frozen gnocchi. Yeah. I don't have time to make homemade.
Oh, yeah. My kid won't even eat
myself up about it.
My kid won't eat any of that. So I guess I will take that ticket because the fact that he won't eat any of that, because I'm like, well, that's why his lunch today, he does get hot lunch at his new school, which is fine. I don't even know if he's eating it. It's costing me hundreds of dollars a month, whatever. But in the snack box I packed this morning, I packed Cheetos in one thing.
Yes.
And it's the same beautiful box that you're seeing on many of these feeds that's filled with
I love it.
Organic kiwi and rolled up fruit things and like edamame in one. And then, but mine doesn't look like that. It's got Cheetos in the big thing, 2 chocolate chip cookies from Trader Joe's in one.
Yeah.
3 Hershey's Kisses in the others.
I love it.
And then 2 strawberries in the small one that he won't eat. And he'll bring it back home and the strawberries will be in it. Warm and like squishy.
Totally.
And that's it.
But you put them in. And that's what matters. I do the same every day.
I can't.
I put in like the orange or the apple.
Never
And it
gets eaten.
always comes home.
Yeah. Yuck. Don't want it.
No,
Like, okay.
I know.
I don't know.
I know. But you know what? It's okay.
To quote your
Right?
husband, I did my best.
That's right. That's
did my
right.
best.
Totally. Totally.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is so awesome. This always happens when I have a great conversation. So we've come to the time where I'm going to ask you 3 questions that I ask every guest.
Okay.
And then we're going to go into a lightning round of questions.
Okay.
The first question is, what do you think about when you hear the word MILF?
I think about your podcast. I actually do. I really do now. I mean, I used to think something else, but now I think about you. I think about you, Jennifer.
Thank you. Okay. What's something you've changed your mind about recently?
Can I pass on any of them? I'm really like, it's so funny. I'm really bad at coming really like I overthink. Got it. So I'm going to, can I
come
take
back
a
to
pause
that one?
that one?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll come back.
Okay.
How do you define success?
Inner peace.
Yeah. Okay, lightning round. And these are easy because I give you an option for everything. Ocean or desert?
Ocean.
Favorite junk food?
Orange Sour Patch Kids.
Ooh, so specific.
Yes.
I love it. Movies or Broadway show?
Movies.
Daytime sex or nighttime sex?
Night.
Texting or talking?
Ooh, depends on the person.
Cat person or dog person?
Dog.
Have you ever worn a unitard?
Totally.
Shower or bathtub?
Bath.
Ice cream or chocolate?
Ooh, chocolate.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at ping pong?
-0. Like the worst ever. Couldn't even probably hit 1.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Can I pass?
Yep. If you could push a button and have perfect skin for the rest of your life, but it would also give you incurable halitosis for the rest of your life, would you push it?
No.
Your face,
No.
you're like,
No.
what?
Don't care.
That's a
about
horrible question.
Yeah, no.
Superpower choice, invisibility, ability to fly, or super strength?
Fly.
Do you want me to circle back to the ones you skipped, or do you want to skip them
Maybe
forever?
just skip them forever.
Yep, skip them forever. We don't care. Would you rather have a penis where your tailbone is, or
Wait, a penis where my tailbone is?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just visualizing and feeling what that would
she
feel
touched
like.
her tailbone just to
I just
check
like,
it out.
okay.
Right there.
Yeah.
Or a third eye, like a literal third eye.
You mean like I would have to walk around with it?
Yep. Both,
like
one or the other.
I don't even know how to wrap my brain around that question. And what warped person thought of this question?
Me.
I know you did. I know you did. What do you say? What would yours be?
Someone asked me on Instagram yesterday, and I responded, I think I'd go with the penis because I want to see how the other half thinks. But if someone asked me that question, I would probably say, well, I'll take a penis where the third eye would go. Because nobody said that yet. Just to be different, just to be kind of an asshole.
I mean, if it was not on the tailbone, I would probably say this because I would be curious.
Oh. You'd want it where it's supposed to be?
Yeah, I wouldn't want it on my back.
Right.
Because you can't,
You can't see it either. Yeah.
It would be really,
Yeah. It'd be hard to masturbate.
Yeah, it would be very
difficult. You would get a good stretch in your
Yes.
front.
I think I would say I wouldn't want it either.
There you go. There's your answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Last set of 2 questions. What was the name of your first pet?
Mickey.
What was the name of the street you grew up on?
Edgewood.
So your poor name is Mickey Edgewood.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
That's a very good one.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. She's classy.
I like it. What's yours?
What is mine? Smoky Lariat.
Oh. That's good.
It's a little good. She's a little bit country.
Smokey's good.
Smoky's good.
Lariat's a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not quite sure about
But
it.
Smokey's good.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to write Smokey down. That's a good name.
Yeah. Smokey.
That's a good name.
Yeah.
It's a good girl character.
It is, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Kathleen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Kathleen. Just a quick reminder that today is the last day for you to Write an iTunes review for MILF Podcast. Well, it's not the last day for you to write a review. It's the last day of the February give. But whenever you write an iTunes review, just know that I've been linking them to different organizations that I'm going to donate to. So in the month of March, there will be another donation geared toward women, which I will announce next week. So even if you write it tomorrow, it'll still count towards something. But today is the last day for Lumos. It's just such a pleasure to bring this show to you guys every week. I love meeting all these fascinating women with incredible stories, the beautiful tapestries of their lives and their children, and how in the hell they juggle all this stuff. Because I'm still just figuring it out one day at a time, barely. Anyway, I love you guys so much. Thank you to my amazing team who helps me produce the show. Sarah, Liz, Kevin, and Derek. I love you guys. And I'll be talking to you guys all next week.